So if you have needed Java technology, and you don't need to change nothing here, just you automatically use the schemas. If you have a different technology, maybe Java-based, JavaScript-based front-end technology, then maybe you need to transform this object into the UPOFR language transformations. If I TypeScript, I simply transform the Java object to the TypeScript object, and it works automatically. So you see, you got the idea how the difference between the two version config two versions of user the REST API's documentation. So it's like the different UI, but it's almost the same functionalities. And that was OpenAPI 3. It has more functionalities. You see that there's more functionality, servers definition, even though you can go also to Swagger you also, and but it has a different layouts, and then so on and so forth, and different annotations also. And it's a lot of the annotation is deprecated. You can also, if you have already knowledge about the Swagger 2, and you can automatically transform those knowledge into the Swagger OpenAPI 3 or Swagger 3 APIs. So this is the UI what we did, and then we will do together in the development part. So let's have a check the documents part. So if I go to the localhost 2020 version 2 and documents, you see the exactly the same format documents is look for, and also the Swagger and then also the 3 version 3030 version 3 is or REST API documentation is exactly what we expected. And the same thing we can check it in the Postman. That's we test. That's I said why we use the Swagger UI as a tools, as a testing tool. You can use the testing tools. You can simply run and test. Is everything perfectly working? What we expected. So you see everything is working. So you can try out. There's some records is there. So you see the some records is there. So everything is perfectly working. And then you can testing, you can use it as a test purpose. You can what you like to do, and then simply test purpose. The testing team just they look for the parameters, they see the outputs, and then they simply call the services, REST services into their front-end technology, and it works automatically. And this is the testing team. Or then if someone don't like to use the Swagger UI or Swagger documentations, then you can simply Postman, you can do the same test what we already did in here. So if you go to let's check the versions. We already discussed about the Swagger UI versions. You see the version is properly landed properly there, the JSON formats. You see that Swagger 2 versions and so on and so forth, even though all the definition about the REST APIs endpoints definitions in the input parameter tags summary and the parameter informations and request and response information. So you see the response to the response value, the code, and so on. So even though we have the URL path of the REST API calls, that's exactly what we expecting. And even all the test cases that you can do, also the Swagger UI, that's the same test is running, is properly working what we expecting. So and the same case that we will discuss about this one a little bit later. So we have versions in the Postmans. You can see the Postman test. So you see the version, the OpenAPI is 3.0.1, and then exactly the same titles and so on and so forth. There's nothing more special here. Name, description of the service, and name and description of the service, and then each of the endpoint definition, endpoint calling, input and output parameters, and the text and the parameter informations, and required true and false, and then so on and so forth. This is the request board. So this is all things I just like annotated in the controller part, even though you can manipulate in the model part also. I will show you later part, so how it is works. And then here also you can in the HTML, you can see that this is the HTML page that's we are looking for we saw in the GUI in the HTML page. So here is the same HTML page in the Postman. It look like it's perfectly working. So Swagger. Then you see the port number 3030, and this is the applications. You can see the port number 2020, how it is running. I will show you later. So let's have it start the configurations and how can you deploy the applications, like initially with your IDE, IntelliJ IDE, and later, that's I said, later I will have a whole lot of possibility to deploy the application, jar-based deployments, standalone jar-based deployments, Docker Compose based deployments, and the Docker Kubernetes based deployment. Just follow my previous screencast. You get a clear picture how can you deploy externally those applications into the production environments. So let's have a configuration, that's I said already. So here is our two projects that's I already discussed about the last screencast. So so it's the same, that is application.yml file, straightforward YAML files. You set the database and so on and so forth. Those are new, just follow the previous screencast. And this is the most important part. So we configure the Swagger UI configurations. We put it like the loggers, and then we have some tags information, and we define some tags, and then we put it these tags and descriptions, and then put it like this tag and descriptions. We put it like tags, and then we have meta information about the services. We put it like the user registration, descriptions, versions, and the number of UVSoftGroup, and so on and so forth. And we create some tag private methods, just make it the tag its name and the description, and create the contract with the default object, contract object from the Swagger. So you see that that is exactly the same pictures you got it here, the Swagger UI tools. So it has a descriptions, service name, and that is the name. This is the name title of the service, and then some subtitles, and the created by, and then so on and so forth. All definition here. So, and the same configurations, if I do the same configurations in the Swagger 3 or OpenAPI 3, there's nothing more special. Just here the same thing happening, just we need additional information, the same thing happening. Let's go to the configuration part. So we see the configuration is a very straightforward configuration. It's a bin, Spring bin annotations. Those are new in the Spring annotations, Spring Boot programmings. Just please follow the Googles, and then or follow my previous screencast. There is a detailed discussion each of the annotations. So it's a bin we'll created, and we put it like we read the values from the application.yml files. So you see the value annotations, and put the keys, and then set the value in here, the application description, application versions. So you see the application, the descriptions, user registration here, and version is here. So it's automatically reading your application.yml files. So we put it like just simple, very simple example, but you can make it like complicated way, just depending how it is built, how it is works, and then depending. But I will show you the really basic idea, professional idea, how we can build such a way, such a configuration, the OpenAPI configuration or Swagger 2 configuration. That's in the previous, and here the configurations. So you get the comparison how it is look like. So we have a docket, and then this docket bin creations, and the same thing happening with the Swagger 2 annotations, and the meta information, and then Swagger 3, it has a different OpenAPI bin annotations, and it has a meta information, also info objects, and info object containing all the information, the title, descriptions, team of services, contract, license, versions, and extensions, and so on and so forth. So we put it like that, some values from the externally. How can you read your application.yml files? Is a simply value annotate, and annotation application to description version, put it the value here, and set this value here, and it works automatically. And here is some grouped OpenAPIs. You can group by different functionalities like user registration OpenAPIs. So the base package names, and UAPI build groups, and then you can packages to scan and build. And if you have a lot of functionality, a lot of microservices, maybe with these modules, maybe hundreds, and then you can group also maybe 20 or 30, depending how you group by your models. That's completely depending your business models or your workflow models, how this works.